Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Welcome to our show. It's for you that works so hard for your money, and you want your money to start working harder for you now. You want that freedom and cash flow today, not 30 or 40 million years from now, but right now, so you can live that life that you love with those you love. But most importantly, it's not just about getting rich, it's about creating a rich life, because as you're blessed financially, you have a greater capacity to bless the lives of others. Guys, I appreciate you letting me create that ripple effect for you. I appreciate hearing the feedback from you guys as you're starting to take these in. You've been binging and sharing them with others, but you've also been taking action on it so you get real results in your life. And that's what I love to hear, guys. So thank you for reaching out, especially those of you who've been reaching out saying, hey, we want to get out of that rat race. Awesome. So glad we're able to serve so many of you. As a reminder, if you haven't done so already, go check out our blogs under our podcast section of our website, moneyripples.com. We got all these episodes transcribed now. So as they come out, you can get all the transcriptions. You can read it. For those of you that are avid readers, you can actually go and even click on the links and find out more. But be sure to check that out today.
Chris Miles was able to retire twice by the time he was 39 years old. But he's not content to just enjoy his own financial freedom and peace of mind. Chris wants you to have your own ripple effect so you can live free today. He's not the financial advisor you expected. He's the anti-financial advisor you deserve. He's jumping behind the mic right now, ready to make waves. Here's Chris Miles.
All right, guys. So I brought out a guest and someone who's become a really good friend of mine, Brian Fouts here. Man, like this guy's got such a cool story that I want you guys to hear about because, he struggled on that traditional path, maybe like some of you are on right now. He's accumulated virtually, he had basically accumulated almost no wealth, right? He decided to go on this journey to educate himself about money, wealth, and what real investing actually is. So very similar path to me in a lot of ways, right? He learned strategies for anywhere from like real estate investing to lending to cash banking to you name it. The knowledge he has got him these great tools, but especially got him more control over his life and over his financial destiny, especially. As a result, he's now created Elevation Group. He's created EVG now to start to help many, many people to be able to create their own freedom, create their own path of success as well. So, Brian, welcome to our show.
I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for the invite and awesome to be here.
Yeah, man. So fill in the blanks. Tell us a little bit about who Brian is and what got you here.
Yeah, for sure. So, I started out, like you said, Chris, in life in that traditional path, lower middle income family, good parents, all that kind of stuff. But I was taught from a young age, get good grades, try hard, then go to school and get good grades there, and then go get a job and maybe work hard there and put money to a 401k, save for the future. That whole traditional path was what I was force fed, as I would say, early on in life. And it's exactly what I did. So I went to school, Washington State University, got a degree in construction management and dove into that career. I was in that career for about 13 years and did all the traditional trappings of that path. Got a mortgage, right? Got a car loan, student loans, credit card debt, personal line of credit, all these things. And I was dead inside. I really did not enjoy what I was doing because I realized that I didn't have like a personal purpose in my life. I realized eventually I was going through these motions that I was taught to go through. And I realized that I'm just doing the same thing everybody else is around me is doing. That's all I'm doing. I'm not living with any passion or purpose, really. And what really happened and what really kind of switched it for me is I realized I'm working for an employer. I'm making them money and they're paying me for just my time. And that's really big. I realized I'm putting money to a 401k. I'm making a 401k provider a bunch of money and fees, and yet I'm taking all the risk. I realized, I'm getting a mortgage. And I thought about that. And eventually I started reading some books and started getting into finances because I realized I didn't have any financial literacy. That was the one thing I realized I didn't have. I went to school, got a degree, and I had no financial literacy or knowledge about money. But when I started to learn that space, and it took many years, I realized when I had a mortgage, I was making the bank money. I was an asset for them, yet I had liability that was sucking away my cash flow, sucking away my wealth. Got a car loan, same thing. I'm making a lender a bunch of money, and yet I have a liability that's reducing my wealth. Same for a student loan, same for the credit cards, all these things. And I realized there's a whole nother world out there that I'm not seeing. There's a world of the 1% or the other side that I'm not privy to because I'm not taught that. And I looked around and saw that, guess what? That's what we're being forced. That's what we're being taught. We are being funneled like cattle to make other people very, very wealthy. Call it the government, call it, all these different, organizations. And that was a huge awakening for me. And it put me on this whole path and mission that I'm on today to really understand how money truly works, how the 1% do things differently, and why we are, why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we here? And as you alluded to, it's about having that life where you can make, you can live with passion, build a legacy you can be proud of. And so that set me on my journey. But as you said, though, there were some rocky experiences. I ended up losing everything at one point in time, going massively into debt, over almost $500,000 in debt. And just was like, didn't really understand what I was doing, was trying to learn all this kind of things because there wasn't any place to go to learn all this stuff, And so that was kind of how the start of my journey was. I dug a big hole but guess what? I mean, it set me on a really a passion and a mission to find out really what's going on, and then really ultimately to teach other people of that same journey and how to have the same success that I've experienced throughout my life so far. So,
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So how did Elevation Group get into this?
Yeah. So Elevation Group is a business that I came across when I was on my journey. I was still learning, still trying to experiment with some different entrepreneurial things in real estate, and came across the business, and I fell in love with it because I realized that it was the gold mine that I've been looking for. It was that source of knowledge, source of opportunity, source of resources that I was missing in my life. And so I dove into that business. And just from what I learned inside that business, I ended up acquiring that business, which is an 8-figure business, for no money down, not no personal money, acquired this massive business and set myself onto a whole nother level, a whole nother journey to really help and educate people, because I have a huge passion for this. I dove into it. I started learning about all these things. I built a massive network. I have spent multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, just learning, just building a network, wow, getting access to all these advisors, and really making the Elevation Group a really powerful place that people can go and learn. But that journey also, one of the things that I really learned is that one of the best things you can do on this journey is to find out your purpose, your passion, your big why. What is your why, and why are you doing this? And so here I was with this business, and I had some challenges in that business, Elevation Group, trying to make it grow, but there was something wasn't in alignment. And if you've ever been in life and you're not aligned with what you're doing, whether it's a job, a career, a business, a relationship, all those things, it's challenging. It is so hard. And I see that oftentimes when it comes to building wealth, people are so challenged. They don't understand, why they're not having success. It's because they're not in alignment. They're trying to work a job they don't like. They're trying to invest in something they don't understand. They're trying to run a business they don't have any passion about or don't understand either. And they're challenged. And so one of the things I've seen with a lot of my advisors and friends and network that have success is they find that big why first, and then everything follows behind it. Versus trying to find that perfect, I'm going to make $1 million and then I'm going to be happy. That's not the way that it really works. And so I realized with my Elevation Group, that business, it wasn't in alignment with really what I wanted to do. And so, but we had a lot of content that we created. And so right now we rebranded it to Living Legacy Association. So our new brand for the Elevation Group is Living Legacy Association. And it's really a cool one. So it's really how to teach people how to have financial mastery in their lives so they can take control of their lives and have that financial independence that they dream of and create that legacy they can be proud of, but also live today. And so the way we do that inside Living Legacies, we have what we call our 5-step elevation method. We walk people all the way through from basic, no financial literacy or knowledge or mastery to becoming a financial master in their life, being able to invest, understanding how to grow and create capital, how to create cash flow, how to acquire assets, and really how to become a real money master in their life and create that legacy. And so we have that 5-step elevation method. But here's what's really cool is that these lessons are taught by financial experts. Chris, you're in there as an example. We've got Robert Kiyosaki advisors in there teaching their strategies and lessons. And so one of the things that I learned is that I don't need money to make money. That was one of my biggest epiphanies. I acquired an 8-figure business with no money down. I just acquired a percentage in another business with no money. And it's going to be a massive business. So that's one of the first things I learned and what we teach inside there. The other is that there are opportunities and strategies that the ultra wealthy 1% use that the average person can use as well. And that was something that really I didn't understand. I thought that, oh no, this is for the wealthy. This is their strategies. And I realized, no, it's not. When you have the knowledge and access, anybody can do this stuff. And the last thing I realized that when I was building this new brand was, you've heard that term, your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. Yes, to a degree. But accessing the 1%, accessing their knowledge and strategies is really where it's at. And being part of another network doesn't mean you got to have to sit down and have lunch with those people, but surround yourself with that knowledge and you'll absorb it and you'll start to understand it, because all of these things are possible when you have that knowledge. And guess what? In this day and age, you can go get it. And so that's one of the things that we do in Living Legacy. And our membership is really teach people that 5-step elevation method, but how to do all of these things that we've done in our own lives. And Chris, you've done them as well, and teaching them. And we have courses on real estate. We have courses on the banking strategy, how to become your own bank. We have courses in how to do, day trading, and also how to invest. We got a lot of resources inside there. But the cool thing though, is we have this brand, Living Legacy, that is now in alignment with what I'm doing. And it's exciting. It's exciting to have that in your life. So for those that are listening to this or watching this, find that purpose, find that why. Why do you want to do these things? Why do you want to invest? Why do you want to have the cash flow and this freedom in your life? Really have that first. And then when you come across the opportunities, the knowledge or the strategies, it becomes easier, because all of a sudden you're excited. You know why you're going to learn the strategy. You know why you're going to go put money into this asset class. You're going to know why you're doing these things. And that for me has been one of my biggest just epiphanies, I'd call it, is just understanding why I'm doing this. For some people, it's their families. For some, it's something else. For some, it's bigger. For some, it's legacy. What is that reason though? And follow that. Find those things that really can really fulfill you. And that's really where I've had success in my life. And that's really what we teach now inside Living Legacy.
I love it, man. Well, I know I've spoken with people that have been through your program or been doing the program currently. And there's some amazing stuff you teach in there. I mean, where we teach a lot about passive income in our program, you teach a lot about how to create that active income now, how to actually build that wealth. So then you could have additional passive income down the road too. And I mean, there's some really cool ways that people can start businesses, even if it's a side hustle, or wherever it could be. There's so many things you could do there that strategy wise, it's just, you don't see that taught very often.
No. And when I went to school and stuff, none of the stuff was taught, of course. I was taught you work hard, you save money, and then you stop working and you live off of what you have, but a smaller percentage of it. And I remember when I looked and I had that laid out in front of me, this plan, I said, wait a second, I'm going to work for 40 years. Let's say I'm making $200,000 by the time I'm done and retire, because it's, now I'm 65 and it's, inflation has happened and all that kind of stuff. But now I've got to survive on $100,000 or $120,000 a year in retirement. Like, that sounds like it's going to be a lesser quality of life. I'm like, this sounds like a pretty crappy plan. And I remember that. And so one of the first things I realized is I had to focus on was my mindset around money. I had all these misconceptions about it. Like, one thing I thought of was, like, I didn't really understand the 3 sources of income. Like, there's 3 sources, main ones you want to focus on. There's active income, trading time for money. If you stop doing that, you stop making money. There's portfolio income. In my world, portfolio is like stocks or 401k. You have to sell the asset to create the cash flow. Well, I'm like, wait a second. So that's the traditional path right there. Active income and then portfolio, and then you die. And I realized, well, that's kind of a scary concept if you're going to be selling an asset and hopefully that it doesn't run out before you do.
Right.
But the third one is that passive income, the cash flow that you talk about. And that's really where a lot of people are working their entire lives, but not realizing that they need to be focusing on that other one. You're leveraging your active and your portfolio into that passive one. And that's really where things really start to happen. And so, like, we talk about different ways to do that. Online businesses, e-commerce businesses, buy a business, by the way, that's a phenomenal one right now. Buy an existing business is an incredible opportunity. Assets. You can acquire real estate with no money down if you really want to get into it. That's how I got my start. There's so much out there, but here's the thing. Have a method, have some steps to go through to create that. And that's the huge thing. So we used to have just a vault of information, but now we have like a 5-step elevation method that people then can follow and realize, oh my gosh, I'm building my foundation. Now I'm going to protect what I have around me. So I have that certainty. Then I'm going to grow it. I'm going to actually become an entrepreneur, or maybe if I want to be a business owner, then I'm going to invest that capital to create that cash flow. And then I'm going to have a legacy I can be proud of. Like, that path right there, I have seen it time and time again. People go through that. And so I realized, well, man, we have all the content to help everybody walk through these steps easily, and the connections to have them implemented for them. Like, it's essentially almost done for you. You go there, you learn, you choose what you want to do. The advisors will connect you with you, and they put it in place. So it actually can be simple. But here's the thing, like you said, nobody's teaching this stuff out there. There's nowhere to go to find this stuff out. And if you go to traditional financial planners, like as you know, they're going to give you their plan they're going to give you their plan for you versus you having a plan of what you want to accomplish, and they can help you implement that plan. That was a big switch for me there as well, was understanding that like the traditional methods, they can work sometimes, but the problem is that the people that are like me or the individuals, we don't have a plan. We don't understand how to utilize those things to create an overall life that we can be proud of. And instead, now you have people that can't retire, they're struggling, they're challenged, the middle class is shrinking, and wealth is being transferred to those that are in the know. And so that's really what I believe, is that when it comes to money and wealth and the 1% and everybody else, realistically, you just got to understand what's going on the other side of the equation, what's going on the other side of the curtain, behind the scenes, so to speak. And once you can see that, understand it, it becomes simpler to build wealth and to actually create that cash that you want in your life. But you have to access that 1%. And that's really what, you and I both do, is we help people do that.
Oh man, love it. Yeah, we'll put a link too in the show notes, on moneyripples.com. Like I just mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'll put that there for the Living Legacy Association. But I want to go back to a point, because you keep saying legacy, you keep saying purpose, right?
Yeah.
And all these things. And it's funny, we just did a show on how to really identify that purpose, right? What's the purpose in your life? I'm curious, what's like a good first step for somebody if they're trying to get clear on what that why, that purpose is? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so there's 3 steps that I look at, really, but the first 2 are what you're talking about, and there's some exercises that we have inside of our membership that help people really accomplish this at a very deep level. But the first step is really to identify, where are you at today? Where are you at right now? Because a lot of people don't truly understand that where they are in life today is a result of their subconscious programming and their journey so far through life. Influences from family, friends, employers, social media, all those things have led you to make decisions, oftentimes subconsciously, that led you to where you're at today. So if you want to change, as an example, or if you're not quite happy with where you're at today, you've got to understand why. What has influenced you? What are your thoughts about money that might be limiting you? So one of the things I do with people, I say, write down, what do you think about the rich? What do you think about money? What do you think about, the 1%? How do you feel about investing? How do you feel about, passive income? Just start getting your thoughts out and start to look, and are there any limiting beliefs that would hold you back from having all the things in your life? Like, what do you think of the 1%? Oh, they're sleazy, they're skeezy. They're not paying their fair share in taxes. The 1%, they're taking money from the 1%. They should give the money back to everybody else. If you have those kinds of beliefs, I can tell you right off the bat, you're probably not going to be the 1% or have that success, because you cannot become what you do not like. And that's the thing, is you've got to understand the 1% are not those things. That's just what we've been taught or what we think from our influences. And so you've got to understand limiting beliefs and really start to reverse those things in your head. And so when you feel yourself thinking those things, you've got to have an alternative statement or thought to have. No, the 1% actually, they're the ones that employ the majority of the middle class. They're the ones that create the businesses. They're the ones that do X, Y, and Z. They're the ones that have the biggest charities. They're the ones that give back. They pay, their corporations pay a lot in taxes, actually. You got to start thinking differently about these kinds of things, because your subconscious programming can be limiting you. So that's like the first step. And there's a lot more to that, of course, understanding where's your money going? What's your assets and liabilities? And so people don't understand that if you have a mortgage, a car loan, and student loans, you have a bunch of liabilities, but those are not assets. What are your assets versus what are your liabilities? Who are you making wealthy in your own life versus yourself? And start to really understand, where are you at today? Then the second step is really, where do you want to go? So I usually write this down, or you kind of start to brainstorm it, but what's your ideal life look like in 3 years? I use 3 years oftentimes as the time frame, but what's it look like? Where do you live? Who do you live with? Where do you drive? What do you spend your time doing? Where do you vacation? What are your kids doing? Just really get the details out. And I'm talking like details. And then you start to look at, okay, what's this life going to cost me? What's the cash flow? What am I going to be spending? All these things, really dive into it so that you can close your eyes and you can think about it and you can picture that life. You can experience it. You can see yourself skiing, wherever, or driving this cool car down the road by your house. You can really experience it and then write that down, get it very specific. And then what I recommend doing is recording yourself talking through like this 2-page thing about your life and where you're at. and then listen to that every single day. Oftentimes, I recommend doing it at a very low level where you can't hear it, so your subconscious mind can pick it up and really identify that. And then part of that purpose, step 2, is understanding, why do you want to do this? What's your passion? What do you see yourself doing now that you've achieved this life? What could make that journey enjoyable? And really start to think about that. What are you spending your time doing? Because I got to be honest, if someone says, oh, I want to be wealthy so I can, spend time traveling with my family, spend more time with my family. Bullshit. Because guess what? After a while, you can be like, I'm sick of my family. I'm sick of traveling. Believe me, I've talked to guys that have done this, and they have no passion, and they get actually depressed. They retired, spent time with family, and realized, okay, I can only spend so much time with my family. I traveled, but I can only spend so much time doing that. They didn't have a why. And so that's really what you got to identify. And so one of the best ways I've done this is called the 7 whys. You've heard of that, Chris. I first experienced it at a Tony Robbins event, but it's like someone asks you the why 7 times. And if your first answer is, so I can spend more time with family. The second question is, well, why do you want to spend more time with family? Yeah. Well, so I can spend more time with my kids because my father didn't spend time with me when I was a kid. Oh, wow. Okay. That's a pretty big deal. Okay. Why is it important that you spend time with your kids and they experience time with you? And you do that 7 times. And typically the 7th answer, the 7th one, is your true why. And so for me, I used to say, I want to spend more time with my family. Well, it's not true. I ended up finding out that mine is, I want to be in control of my time so I can do what I want when I want and not have a boss or someone tell me what to do. That ended up being my true why. It wasn't about having the big house and all this stuff. It was being in control of my time. And so that's my why. And so you've got to find out yours and really have it written down, have it part of your overall, life that you're building, have that why built into it. And that really can be the heart of it. That's the thing that pulls you. And so one of the things I'd recommend for people to be very careful of is investing out of fear or out of frustration or anger, or trying to build wealth because you hate something. And that used to be me, by the way, Chris. So I used to say, oh, I hate my job so much. It's so negative. I want to get out of it. So I want to become an entrepreneur so I can quit my job. When I quit my job, that immediately satisfied that why, but there was nothing left to fill that void.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And so here I was investing and building businesses, but I was empty inside because I didn't have a purpose. And so what ended up happening is some of those businesses didn't do well, or they failed because I didn't have the passion for them. And once I found out that passion, and it happened, a couple of years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I had something that was pulling me towards it. That thing was, and it was strong. And that's what you got to find, is that thing that pulls you forward, that keeps you going in your journey, not that thing behind you that's pushing you, because that will not last. But if you have that passion, purpose, and your big why, that's always going to be there pulling you forward. And so I love, as part of our program, that's what we do. We help people identify that right there. And we call it our wealth guide. And when people go through that, it's like a light bulb goes off oftentimes, some part, when they're going through that exercise, they're like, oh my gosh, wow. Like, then it changes the way they think about everything. Money, job, career, relationships, friendships, wealth, all this stuff changes when you have that, and things become clear. And if you're struggling right now, if you're having challenges building wealth or investing or in your business, really identify your purpose and your why. And then let everything else clarify itself around that. And I guarantee you things will become easier. So,
man, guys, I hope for the last 5 minutes or so, I hope you've been taking good notes on this, because he just seriously gave you a lot right there. And it's good stuff. And this is stuff that's so necessary, because I've done these same activities, and it's amazing how much faster it gets you to your goals than you would ever imagine, because you have that why, that vision, that purpose pulling you to it. And it's huge. And so everybody, I recommend you rewind this thing a few times and capture some of this.
Because once you have those first 2 steps down, it makes step 3 easy. And step 3, I don't get into it very much, but that step 3 is just the plan. It's like, okay, what are you going to do now? Because oftentimes people try to go to the plan first off. Okay, what should I do?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's what people sell. Oftentimes they'll sell the sizzle, they'll sell that thing, right? But really what you need is the first 2 steps, because then the plan all of a sudden will become easier. So like, part of the plan, what we do, all we do is, now that you know where you're going, reverse engineer that to today. Just, here's where I'm going to end up, reverse engineer it to today. Okay, so I got to do X, Y, and Z. I've got to create the foundation. Okay, I've got to make sure I protect this stuff. I got to have the entities around this kind of stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And this is what we do. This is our structure. And once you have those two things, all of a sudden, you look at, like, as an example, our content, you're like saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to go watch this, then this, and implement this, put this in place, boom, 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 boom. It becomes clear all of a sudden. You can see the path. Like it's like all of a sudden the sun, came through the canopy of the trees in the forest. You can see the path ahead of you, and it becomes simpler. And that's really what I enjoy doing, is really understanding, like, what's that plan? Okay, I'm going to start doing this. And then in 6 months, I'm going to buy my first property, as an example. I'm going to do one property every 3 to 6 months with this formula. And in 3 years, I'm going to have that cash. I'm going to have that life. I'm going to have that business, whatever it is. And all of a sudden you're working the plan. You're working that plan. And that's awesome, because there's always going to be opportunities. There's always going to be, new things out there. But if you have a plan, you can look at those opportunities and say, you know what? No. By the way, saying no is a very powerful thing when it comes to investing and your money. But if you have a plan and you have an opportunity, you can look at it and say, does this fit in my plan or not? If it does, cool. If not, that's cool as well. And so it really helps you make decisions around your money and building your legacy. Because if you don't have a why, it's very hard to have a legacy. And for me, a legacy is not something that happens after you die. Your legacy is something that you can know what it's going to be. You're building it today. You're experiencing and living that legacy today, all the way through the next generation and 3 generations from today. That is a true legacy that you can feel and experience today and see that impact. And that's why we call our business Living Legacy Association, right? Is because you want to live it. You want to experience it today by taking action today to make that thing happen. And so that's really what my passion and purpose is now.
I love it, Brian. Yeah, it's awesome. Well, everybody, like I said, you want to learn more about the Living Legacy Association, check out our show notes. If you haven't done so already, go to moneyripples.com, check out under the podcast section where you find this episode, and go get that link. Go get more information on it, because I'll tell you, from even my own clients, our one-on-one clients that work with us that are getting out of the rat race, doing these exercises alone is something that could even speed it up faster for them, right? This is something that they need to do. And I encourage them to do it, but I know not every one of them has done it. And those that haven't done it are missing a key piece to their true financial freedom. So guys, go check that out. Brian, again, thanks for being on the show today. It's been awesome as always. Probably have to have you back on again, I'm sure. So, awesome. So appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, again, you can hear this all you want, but it's about how you take action and get results. It makes all the difference in your life. Go and make a wonderful and prosperous week. See you later.